just put forward we're live? All right, it is 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 19th. My name is Nick Brandon, Executive Director of Communications and Marketing for P-CCS, and we want to welcome all of you to our fall community virtual town hall. This gives us an excellent opportunity to have direct two-way interaction with members of our school community and help us to stay better connected with you so you can stay better connected with P-CCS. At this time, I would like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Monica L. Merritt. Monica, take it away.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. As Mr. Brandon shared, this is our opportunity to engage with our community. We value and appreciate those opportunities to just give updates and answer any questions or concerns that you may have. Over the last few years, we had coffee with Monica, and we had to replace that with these virtual town halls because of the pandemic. But, you know, there really is a silver lining to this pandemic. It's taught us different ways to engage our community. And we did find that through these virtual meetings, we had an opportunity to reach out to more families for this dialogue. We will have the opportunity to also archive this video. So anybody that's not able to be here at 4:30 today still has the opportunity to benefit from some of these updates and hear the answers that we may have to some of the questions that come from our community. So we really think that this is something positive, and we anticipate keeping these virtual town halls going even when we get post-pandemic. Before beginning today, I want to introduce to you a dynamic group of people that I have the pleasure of working alongside each and every day to help guide our district, and that is my core team. I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about the work that they lead, beginning with our Chief Academic Officer, Ms. Beth Rail.
Thanks, Monica. As Monica mentioned, I'm the Chief Academic Officer here at Plymouth Canton Community Schools. In my role, I oversee the Teaching and Learning Department, and the Teaching and Learning Department touches every aspect of curriculum, instruction, assessment, professional development, instructional technology, specialized student services, state and federal programs across our district. This includes all programming from early childhood through elementary, all the way to middle school, high school, and post-secondary. So it's a great pleasure and honor to be here tonight, and I'm going to pass it off to Debbie Piez, Chief Financial Officer, so that she can share with you a little bit about her.
Thanks, Beth. So I am Debbie Piez. I'm the Chief Finance and Operations Officer, and I am things all non-instructional based. So finance and purchasing, also transportation, custodial operations, maintenance and grounds, and cafeteria, food and nutritional services. So those are the things that I oversee in my department. And now we'll kick it to, I believe, Kurt Tiskowitz.
Thank you, Debbie. Hello and welcome. My name is Kurt Tiskowitz. I'm the Executive Director of Student Services. My primary responsibilities include anything that has to do with pupil accounting, from enrollment to registration to looking at interdistrict or inter-county school of choice, looking at all matters related to safety and security. And I'll introduce my partner in crime, Director of School Safety and Security, here in a minute. Being the administrative liaison to the board for all of our board policies and any changes that need to be updated or improved in our board policies. Also responsible for all residency and truancy issues when we need to. I have the privilege of leading the Facility and Boundary Committee when we need to look at school boundaries and where kids go to school. I also, on the other side, the human resources side, I work with all of our non-certified staff, from anywhere from contract and negotiations to working with employees and issues that might come up. I also serve as a Title IV, and I'm happy to be here. And now I'm going to turn it over to our Director of School Safety and Security, Mr. Josh Meyer.
Thanks, Kurt. As Kurt said, I'm Joshua Meyer. I'm the Director of Safety Security for the district. What that entails is I oversee our safety and security plans for our 26 buildings, 25 buildings. That includes anything from camera systems to door lock systems, emergency operations plans throughout the district. And I also oversee our security teams at the high school park. And so I work closely with the core leadership team and Kurt, and working through the various issues within the district. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And lastly, Nick Brandon, as introduced at the beginning, it's a real privilege to be part of Superintendent Merritt's leadership team. Our department oversees communication, marketing and promotions, media relations, community relations, and the branding of our great school district. And really have the honor of working with 14 of the most talented individuals I know as part of the communications and marketing team. Our number one goal really is to support student learning in our district, support our staff, and support our families by helping everyone to stay better connected with PCCS through events like this very town hall right here. So it's great to be here, and I will pass the baton back to Superintendent Merritt.
Thank you, everyone. I will call them my dream team, and that I truly mean that sincerely. I always talk about it takes a village to make sure that our students have what they need to thrive in our community. And I believe that we have the dream team, the A team here at Plymouth Canton to make that happen. We have close to 17,000 students, close to 3,000 staff members. We are a large organization, but we are fully invested in our students and making sure that they are best in class, that our district is best in class, and our students have every opportunity that they deserve to thrive. And so with that, we owe it all to our staff by really rolling up their sleeves, coming together to make that happen. And this year has truly been a year that we depend so much on our village. It has been exciting to start this 21-22 school year. Each year we have challenges at the start of the year. As you've heard us say over the last month, our biggest challenge this year has been staffing. And that's not a PCCS issue. It is a national issue through this pandemic. We are short-staffed in every one of our areas: transportation, cleaning, paraprofessionals, support services such as secretarial, security, but some of our classrooms, we're still filling some of our classroom vacancies, but everyone is really rolling up their sleeves and sometimes doing 5, 6, 7 jobs just to ensure that we achieve our goal of keeping our doors open for in-person learning for our students 5 days a week. That was a goal that we really worked to achieve this school year based on our phased-in approach last year, and really the stress that we saw that caused for our students. So we are proud to report that we are achieving that goal. Our students are back for in-person learning, and they really have brought life back into our buildings. It's such a joy to just see them engage with each other. You can feel that enthusiasm in the buildings. You also feel that enthusiasm in our virtual academy, because that is one other silver lining from this pandemic, is we had the opportunity to launch the P-CCS Virtual Academy earlier than we had planned, really to meet the needs of our students during the pandemic. But many students, I think at this point, close to 1,000 have chosen to still receive their education virtually, and they're thriving in that environment. And that's something that we'll continue to keep as we move forward. We are still very much in the middle of a pandemic, and we are navigating the challenges that brings daily. We have our COVID mitigation plans in place, and we are working hard as our school community to adhere to those mitigation plans so we can keep our schools open again in person 5 full days a week. And that is not without its challenges. As I said, positive cases, as we are truly in a high level of transmission in our community. I believe, Director Meyer, we're at about 93 positive cases already for the month of October. But we have been able to work with our local health department, really with our Wayne County Health Department and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The priority is to try to keep kids in school as much as possible. So we've had some updated quarantine protocols that we follow from the Wayne County Health Department, which really allow for students that are identified as close contacts. They have more options to keep them in school. I want to thank our teachers also during this time period for working with our quarantine students. If students are out for 3 days or more, to just make sure that they're not falling behind in their learning. In general, I will say We have been pleased with the learning, the academic progress of our students throughout this pandemic. As we look at our nationally normed testing, our NWEA from our first through eighth grade students, our students in reading pretty much have performed on par with where we expected them to be. We did see some slight decline in our projected growth in the areas of math. But the teaching and learning department under the leadership of Ms. Rail have really been working on some plans to address this unfinished learning with a dynamic summer school program that took place this past summer. In general, I would say we typically service over 700 students in our summer school program. This year, we serviced over 5,000 students through summer school opportunities. And this really provided our young people with camps and classes to get them back and engaged in in-person learning, some things that were fun, at the same time, opportunities to really meet a targeted focus on some of the skills that we classify as unfinished learning caused by the pandemic. So we believe that we're in a good place. Our focus, though, is around their social emotional well-being. We will tell you what we see on a daily basis is our kids have gone through a lot as they've navigated this pandemic, and it shows up in different behaviors within school. So we're truly working to support our students' basic needs so that they are able to really fully engage in the academic expectations that we have here at school. So we definitely want to continue to engage with our families to provide the support together that our young people need in order to thrive. I talked about that staffing challenge earlier, and that becomes difficult when we have all of these emerging needs to support our students. So I do want to thank the Human Resources Department. They have a virtual job fair that is taking place this Thursday. That is October the 21st from 9 to 4. This will be via Zoom. And they're really doing this event to showcase our open positions, as I said, in almost every department of the district. You can view the website postings on our district website, and you can follow that convenient QR code to register for an interview, and they'll work with the hiring administrators to try to really make this easier for our families, for our community members, for people that are interested in working in Plymouth Canton. We're going to forego the cost of fingerprinting that will be reimbursed after 30 days on the job. So we really want to take this opportunity to get that word out so that if you are watching, you can help spread that word and maybe have people come and consider working for us here in P-CCS. Many of us here in the core team, we have chosen this community to live, to raise our own students. Everyone on this core team is fully committed and invested in our district. P-CCS is a great place to work, to raise your family. And so we want to make sure that we extend our arms and get that information out to people that would we welcome to be a part of that team and continue that learning going. I do want to talk specifically, just give you some updates about how that staffing shortage has impacted some of our services, first being transportation. As many are aware, we have had to cancel. It started off this school year with 9 general education routes. It has now grown to 10 general education routes. With our shortages, we have approximately, I think we're short 16 bus drivers. So that means we don't have substitutes as well. If a bus driver calls in sick, for example, we have to cancel that route. Sometimes we're fortunate to know the day before. Sometimes it's 5 o'clock in the morning where we learn that we cannot provide transportation services for our families. And this is frustrating. We appreciate patience. We thought that we could be fully staffed by the end of September, but that is actually taking longer. Sometimes we say we take a few steps forward and a few steps back. 3 drivers are starting over the next few days, but we also recently had 2 drivers resign. So working with transportation, we are trying to bring those suspended routes back on board, but we will potentially have to suspend other routes as well until we're able to get all of those positions filled. So again, it's so important for us to get that word out that we're hiring. It is such an important job in terms of transportation. That is the first person that our students see in the morning to begin their day and the last person they see in the afternoon. So we really want to work to support our Durham partners to bring the best people on board to really support the needs of our students. As we get our students in the door, cleaning has also been a challenge. We have established a quality of clean for our district here in PCCS. In order to accomplish this, through our partner ABM, we have 84 regular cleaning positions and 20 COVID cleaners that we've contracted out for under our new contract. And with the staffing shortages, they have 59 staff members of those numbers fully vetted and actually working in the district. Good news is that they've had an uptick in interviews, and I think they have 26 people currently in the hiring process. They have a critical care team that's out trying to do some engagement opportunities around the community to try to increase hiring and recruitment efforts. And they're also going to be a part of our hiring fair this week to see if they can get that word out and bring more cleaners on board. In the meantime, we here in PCCS have also employed our own cleaning assistant positions to really help make sure that we can maintain that standard of clean, especially during this level of high transmission within our communities. We've to date hired 20 of our 24 positions, and we have 3 new applicants to interview next week. And again, looking at a whole all hands on deck approach, really proactively, we've worked within our own school communities to help assist in some of these cleaning tasks. And we've offered a stipend, a cleaning support stipend for any staff member that's willing to assist in these tasks beyond their regular work hours, just to make sure that our buildings are clean and ready for our students and staff the next day. And we're able to utilize some credits that we've received through ABM from them being short-staffed. It is a challenge. I make it sound as if we're moving along easily, but I tell you that that is a lot of work each and every day. And I do want to publicly acknowledge the hard work of each of our staff members to ensure that we're able to get it done. And with all of this stress that everyone is feeling, they work hard to keep that away from our students, because that's what our students deserve. As I kind of wrap up some updates, I do want to share with you, outside of the COVID world and the challenges, we are excited about our strategic planning process that began this year. That's our dynamic planning process. That work has been underway since January, the start of this year. In a typical year, that really provides an opportunity for our community to come together, our staff, our students, our board members, our community partners, to really engage and capture their hopes for our students in terms of the innovative educational programming that we can bring forward for kids in their future, to see ways that we can foster positive working environments for our staff, how we engage our students to make sure that their voice matters and is present in all aspects of our educational process. And again, to engage our families and as partners. We create this strategic planning process that really serves as a 5-year compass for how we do business, and really create this environment that ensures our students thrive here in PCCS. So we started this work in January with our Board of Education, really creating for us what our strategic themes are for the next few years. We've had a steering committee that's come together to really flesh out what those strategic objectives look like. We've engaged stakeholder groups, including students and families and members of our staff and our business community, to again give their feedback on how we can be the best innovative environment or prepare the best innovative environment for students. And gathering that information together, we will plan on presenting a draft of this information to the Board of Education on October the 26th. We'll go through half of it there, the other half November the 9th, before seeking approval at our final meeting in November. During this time, we'll also share this draft information with our buildings, with our focus groups that initially came forward to give us feedback, to just make sure that it truly represents the vision of what we want our district to be. So stay tuned. This is information that we'll share. I want you to pay attention to the board meetings coming up. You'll have an opportunity to see that draft, and we also will provide some opportunities for some feedback and some input to, again, make sure that it is representative of the desires that we have for our students here in Plymouth Canton. I will end with the updates for now with Just a shout out again to our community for your support for our 2020 bond. That was the most exciting day on March the 10th, and at the same time, the scariest day, because as we were celebrating our community for overwhelmingly supporting a $275 million bond for our students, we also learned of our first cases of COVID in our country. And so with that, we still were able to move through with this completed bond and begin these projects that are impacting every single building in our district. I want to ask Ms. P.S. to kind of share with you some updates from our bond. Again, we've had the support from furniture to playgrounds to additions to our buildings, scene shops at our auditorium, a new swimming pool, all kinds of things that really help us to achieve that goal of being best in class. So Ms. P.S., will you take us through kind of an update on that bond?
Sure. So this first summer is called the bid package EL1, and it includes work done at Dodson, Erickson, Field, and Hulsing elementary schools. So we call Field, Erickson, and Hulsing the triplets because they're really three very similar buildings. And so they're having three very similar projects done this summer. We're actively in the final stages of completion. And so hopefully the areas will be ready and available sometime mid-December, beginning of January. What you see before you are the addition photos for Erickson Elementary School. What we're doing at the triplets is including a new office space, a new office entry, a lobby space, and then a corridor to really create a secure entryway. What you look at right here is a view into the main office area, a view from the lobby back into the office area, and then down the corridor to an additional gymnasium, because these three buildings have a cafetorium, which is one room that serves two purposes. And so we meant to add an additional gymnasium, and then there's an additional art and music room on the end as well. So that's what these three pictures show. And then going from left to right, this is the seal coating for the existing asphalt with the new playground in the far view, the roofing over the additions to the gym roof, and the roofing over the lobby and office connections. Here's a view into the new media center spaces with a new collaboration room on the left, and the new furniture for those media centers on the right. This is Erickson again still. And then here's Erickson's new playgrounds. All the buildings got new playgrounds, but this is Erickson's, and it has the ability for play at various levels of ability. And so it has ramps and things so that all children can utilize the space. Here is Fields Edition. Again, the new main office area. The underground electrical that goes underneath, and then a slab of concrete will go over the top. So it's the conduit for the new electrical. And then the north elevation exterior looking back into the gym is the taller area there. And then the two classrooms immediately adjacent to at Field. And then here's additional pictures about the floor slab. So this is before the concrete was poured in an active situation, and then the floor slab after it was poured, and then the prep for concrete going on in that classroom space at Hulsing. And again, here's the parapet walls on the roof, the seal coating for the existing asphalt, and then the canopy framing. This will be a large area out front, so there'll be some weather protection as kids arrive and depart from the school building at Hulsing. Here's Hulsing playground photos as well. Same playground, a slightly different orientation. And then at Dodson was the need for 4 additional classrooms. So there's a wing now off the front of the building which includes a corridor, a terrazzo tile, which really looks nice actually, the exterior windows that have been installed, and then the south elevation that's now facing Cherry Hill Road. Inside those spaces are the new track boards and marker boards, the new casework, and the classroom doors that are being installed. Now coming up, which the board is in the middle of the resolution, first read was last board meeting, second read will be this board meeting coming up a week from today. The Salem High School Auditorium and Remodeling Project is the refresh of the Gloria Logan Theater. And so as you see there in the pictorial, there's an existing auditorium in the periwinkle blue, and a corridor in the pink, I'll call it, and then in the orange is all new additions. So it's a scene shop, a green room, 2 dressing rooms, and some facilities, as well as additional storage and a mezzanine level for costumes above the scene shop and storage areas. This is a view of what it will look like from the outside of the building. So basically a push out to the front parking lot. And then this is an interior picture of what it looks like with some glass that shows all the announcements of the day inside the facility itself. And then here's inside the auditorium, the new seats, the new paint, new lighting and sound. Thank you. The next up will be the pools. I know you mentioned those, but that is coming to the board on the November 9th. Will be the first read, and the second read will be on November 23rd. So more to come in the summer of 2022. And then our next up for our elementary schools will be EL2, and that package will include Byrd, Smith, and Miller elementaries. So more to come.
Thank you, Ms. Piez. It's definitely an exciting time when we look at the possibilities on the horizon for an investment in a district that has been around for many, many years, and many of our buildings are old, but we really want our buildings, the facilities, to reflect the wonderful learning that's going on inside. And I think this bond gives us the opportunity to do that. And it is timely as we deal with all of these challenges to really look at things that we can celebrate. And this is definitely something that we can celebrate in terms of our community coming together. We will turn it over now to Mr. Brandon to lead the next component of this town hall, which gives us an opportunity to address some of the questions that you as our community have sent seeking some answers.
Thank you, Superintendent Merritt. And to follow up on the 2020 bond, which obviously is a very exciting thing for our whole community, we're actually producing what we're calling 2020 Bond Tuesdays. And that is every Tuesday, we're doing a post to our social media outlets via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as to a 2020 Bond Tuesdays page on the website, a weekly update for our community to stay in touch through pictures and descriptions of the work that's going on district-wide for this bond campaign. We'll continue to post those on a weekly basis throughout the whole duration of the bond projects. And we look very forward to doing that to make sure that our community has easy and convenient ways on a weekly basis to stay informed with all the amazing work that's going on as part of the 2020 bond. We are going to shift now into our Q&A portion of today's town hall. We want to thank members of our community for submitting questions via the online question form that was posted to the official district website and promoted on our social media outlets and the P-CCS LPT3 podcast, which we strongly recommend for everybody to tune into. Starting last Wednesday, and it closed this past Sunday, our question form was open to the entire community, and those are the questions that we're going to address, starting with our Q&A portion right now. So let's get to it. So first and foremost, we have a question that will be broken up into a couple different parts, but we'll begin. Superintendent, based on feedback heard from parents in the walking neighborhoods around the PCEP campus, it does not feel realistic to say that high school students in the walking neighborhoods can safely walk to PCEP when sidewalks and crosswalks are lacking and speed limits on the roads are not reduced during school arrival and dismissal hours. The majority of students in these neighborhoods are actually driven to PCEP, contributing to heavy traffic during school arrival and dismissal times. Has PCCS ever surveyed families in the walking neighborhoods to understand how the students in the walking neighborhoods actually get to and from school, especially at PCP? If such a survey hasn't been completed, should PCCS complete a study to understand the impact that the lack of walkability to school, especially to PCP, has on families?
I think that's a great question. And I will say that in terms of even safe routes to school, it's very important for Plymouth Canton that our students are able to arrive to school and leave safely. This conversation I know has been going on from residents around our campus for quite a few years now. I've been in this seat for 6 years, and I am not aware of any study in terms of that question that has taken place, but I will share that our parents currently share their concerns with us with email, through the telephone, through our social media outlets. We have a formal survey for our families. It's our K-12 survey every year, where we have opportunities for some open-ended feedback as well in terms of things that we can improve. And so we have opportunities for parents to share their concerns there with us as well. Recently, some of our residents have even shared their concerns with the local paper, and that's helped to amplify the discussions on these safety issues to those that are involved with the roads in our area. Of course, the roads are a responsibility of Wayne County, and so we're working to address those needs and have been working according to the proper protocols to just make sure we can have a conversation around that future work and how we can continue to make our passages safer for students as they come to and from the campus.
Thank you. And the next section of the question is, in late September, you sent a letter to Bev Watts, the Wayne County Director of Public Works, asking Wayne County to study safety improvements for pedestrians around several PCCS schools, including the PCEP campus. I've learned that a meeting was held this week with PCCS, county and township representatives to review a list of safety concerns around PCCS schools and to request that Wayne County take action. Would you please provide feedback on the outcome of this meeting and next steps?
Director Meyer actually attended that meeting with me. I'll ask him to maybe jump in and give a brief summary of what was discussed and next steps that the county has talked about following. Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, so a little history on the topic. I started with the district last October, and very early on, I had received some parent complaints regarding traffic concerns around our PSEP park, particularly with the crosswalk situation at Joy and Canton Center, and then also Joy at McClumpha. I had reached out to Wayne County at that time, did some mining of some documents that I was able to locate, and found that Superintendent Merritt has sent more than one letter to Wayne County requesting that some of these areas be addressed. So what we did, fast forward to this September, we had some dialogue back and forth via email with Wayne County. We went out and surveyed all of our school buildings to determine what the needs were across the district. So we have some schools, elementary schools, that we believe fall within the motor vehicle code that would be deemed a school safety zone, and they are currently not. We have other areas where there's crosswalk deficiencies, meaning there's a lack of signage or a lack of clearly marking that is a crosswalk. And so Superintendent Merritt sent 2 letters back in September, one to the traffic engineers with Wayne County requesting school zone updates. And then the second was to Beverly Watts, the Director of Department of Public Services of Wayne County. And that was specifically to address all of the other issues, including sidewalk gaps, intersection improvements, crosswalk improvements, adjustments to traffic lights, et cetera, within the district's boundaries at these various school locations. That meeting, those letters were also CC'd to township and city officials within the district, and also the county commissioner that represents Plymouth Township, Canton Township, and the city of Plymouth. A meeting was held on October 13th with those county, state, local officials, where we discussed the list of requests. At this time, Wayne County has asked for some time to digest and understand the request and respond back in writing. So that's where we're at right now. I can update everyone that as of last week, they began a traffic study on Joy Road. There's traffic counters out at Joy and McClumpha to address or at least look at that intersection for potential improvements. And then they have physical traffic counters out, which is a person actually sitting in a parking lot counting traffic during arrival at dismissal and the dismissal during some of our locations, so that we can get a count and better understand the traffic needs. So we're optimistic. I'm optimistic. We're certainly not going to forget that this is out there. We're going to stay on top of it. It's kind of challenging right now because some of the requests are sidewalks, and the county is saying those are, fall under the jurisdiction of the townships and the local municipalities. And the local municipalities are saying, hey, that's in the county right away. So we really need the county's help with this. And then there's, some of these sidewalks would go through somebody's property. So you need the property owner's consent in order to put a sidewalk in. So it's a challenging space. Certainly, from a school district perspective, we really have no authority to make any type of intersection improvements, add signage. We are allowed to request under the motor vehicle code for school zones, but we certainly can't put that signage in on Wayne County roads, and we certainly can't pour sidewalks. If we could, I'm sure Superintendent Merritt would find a way to get a construction crew out there and do it. But I know that we're committed to staying on top of this and working with those county, state, and local officials to make sure we get some improvements at these much needed areas.
Thanks, Director Meyer. So follow-up question to that on the same topic is, this is going to be a long process. How can concerned parents receive regular updates or check status on progress to improve pedestrian safety around P-CCS schools?
Well, I certainly think that we these town hall meetings, we can put updates out as we hear updates from the county. Work with Superintendent Merritt's office to get communications out to our families and to the community. And we'll try to work with the leadership team to see if there's maybe the spot on our website or something along those lines that we can use for those updates. It is going to be they're right. This is not anything that unfortunately is going to happen overnight. Engineers have to be involved, traffic counts, et cetera, before they can make those steps to determine what type of improvements are needed.
In the last section of the question, given that Wayne County is responsible for the roads in Plymouth and Canton townships, and therefore any actions taken must involve Wayne County, what can parents do to impress upon Wayne County leadership the importance of taking action to improve pedestrian safety around P-CCS schools? It appears that Wayne County has been ignoring pedestrian safety at P-CCS schools for years.
Superintendent Merritt, I can take a jump at that if you'd like. We've been communicating with Melissa Daub, who's our county commissioner for District 10, which includes Canton Township, Plymouth Township, and then Plymouth City. And she's been very responsive in at least taking our concerns and trying to be an intermediate between us and the Department of Public Services. So if residents have questions or concerns, certainly I would encourage them to get on Wayne County's website, look up Commissioner Daub and reach out to her. She's been responsive and at least trying to facilitate these improvements and work as a mediator or an in-between with the district and the county to try to get some of this accomplished. We can only do so much. We can only continue to reach out to the county and stress. It's hard, the county said, at one point asked us to prioritize these improvements, and it's really hard for us to prioritize one and say one school or one area of concern is more important than the other because it's a safety issue. And for us, we want to ensure all of our students are safe, whether you go to PSEP or whether you go to Hoban Elementary School. I can't put a priority number on one school or the other, especially when it deals with kids and safety. And so from our lens and from our perspective in the district, they're all equally as important and they are all very high priority for us to address, especially as communities continue to grow and the traffic within them continues to grow.
Thank you. The next question submitted is, what are the criteria for notifying parents and students of COVID positive cases? We occasionally get an email stating there was a positive case at the school, but there are many more cases listed in the P-CCS COVID-19 positive probable transparency reporting that we are never notified about.
Director Meyer, you want to take that one as well?
Love to. So the normal practice for the district is if there's a positive case at the school and it's deemed to be a school associated case, then we would report that on the website in accordance with the order issued by the state of Michigan. When that gets reported, there's a letter, which we call a case identification letter, that will go out, that should and is supposed to go out to all families at that school. And that's simply letting families know that there was a positive case within that school. There's a second letter, which is a case exposure letter, that would go out to any families of a student that was deemed a close contact to that positive case. So there are two separate letters. One is just letting families know, hey, there was a positive case in that school and no further action is necessary. The other is again, that exposure letter, and it gives an explanation of what the student's next steps are, depending on whether that student, if it's at the park, has been vaccinated or not vaccinated. And then we have to go through and determine, proximity. To answer the question about why there may be cases on the website that a letter didn't go out, without fully understanding, more details of exactly what the question is referring to, it's hard for me to answer. I can tell you that, at the park, for example, we could have 5 cases in one day, but at the PSEP, because these students are transitioning between buildings, we send out one letter park-wide every day. So we're not going to send, we could have 5 positive cases. We're not going to send 5 letters out to all families. We are going to send one letter out to all families, PSEP families, saying there's a positive case. It could be 5 positive cases, but that there was a positive case at PSEP that day. Some of the middle schools have kind of transitioned to that same model. And then the elementary schools are a little bit different and a little bit more unique than that. But, without exactly knowing what the case was or the circumstances was and being able to look into it and contact that building principal to find out if a letter went out, I really don't know. I do know that we are sending out a lot of letters, and I'm on the phone quite a bit with principals, helping to coordinate and make sure those letters go out, working with our nursing team. And so we're very diligent in trying to get those letters out timely every day.
Thank you. The next question is a popular one this fall, and that is, will there be an option to switch from virtual to in-person and vice versa, starting from the second trimester?
I can take that one, Nick. Thanks. Yes, there will be an opportunity for students to switch from the virtual academy to in-person and vice versa. There will be a window for students in kindergarten through 5th grade between November 1st and November 10th. And then there will also be an opportunity for our students in grades 6 through 12, beginning January 3rd, ending on January 10th. This will be their one opportunity to make that switch.
Thank you, Kurt. And I will add, just from the communications perspective, that we will be promoting those dates and that timeline to our families in a variety of ways in the coming days and weeks. And we'll make sure that families are informed about what those options are and what that timeline looks like for sure. The next question: no bus service 5+ weeks from school start. Taxes pay for this service. Recognize there is an issue recruiting drivers. Can the saved money over the 5+ weeks be bundled as a signing bonus to solve this issue?
I'll take that question. So the district has contracted with Durham School Services to provide transportation services to the district. Currently, Durham has 92 bus drivers, which cover about 108 bus routes, and a route being typically a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school combined. We have a 3-tiered system. Therefore, Durham is short about approximately 16 drivers. That's 10 suspended route drivers plus 6 casual drivers to cover vacancies for illnesses. So we've used the savings from those suspended routes to amend our contract with Durham to offer attendance bonuses to the bus drivers and to their staff. Durham also offers referral bonuses and other incentives in order to attract those additional bus drivers. Those referral bonuses, by the way, are to anyone. So anyone, anytime, any place, if you refer someone to Durham, you will earn a referral bonus as they seek to hire additional bus drivers. Unfortunately, this is a national, state, and regional issue, which takes time to resolve, and we continue to lose bus drivers almost as fast as we've hired them, which Superintendent Merritt alluded to earlier, which contributes to this bus driver shortage.
I do want to just share patience and grace to our drivers. So when we talk about not only being able to hire, but we need to be able to retain these important drivers and members of our school community. And at times, I think this frustration, it causes stress, understandably so, on our families. And at times, our bus drivers are recipients of that stress. And so we just want to encourage and continue to remind all involved that we are working together on ways to increase awareness of our openings. We've invited Durham to participate in our virtual hiring fair this week. We encourage anyone on this call or anyone who watches this archive video to get the word out, spread the word that we're hiring in our transportation department through Durham for P-CCS. But again, for the drivers that are showing up for our students every day, making sure that they are traveling safely to and from school, we want to make sure that we continue to support them and appreciate them for doing this job, this important job on behalf of our students.
Thank you. And our next question. I'm really concerned about the lack of communication and the reactionary decisions this year within the district. There was a power outage at the park and parents, staff, and students were given no instructions whatsoever. This led to students leaving, sitting in the dark, etc. I'm terrified of what would happen if there was imminent danger and we can't even get a communication during a power outage. Also, our kids were insulted and portrayed as dangerous in the local media over Plymouth's homecoming dance. Why couldn't leadership address the kids who were the problem instead of canceling the dance? And if it was such a dangerous situation, why weren't parents contacted that night? At the elementary level, if the schools were not ready for open house, then how can I be assured they're safe for my kids to attend? Appreciate the question. I'll actually take this one. You know, in any unexpected situation or crisis situation, our number one priority is to keep all students safe, and all immediate efforts are centered around the health and safety of our students. That really is paramount and the priority. We rely really heavily on our crisis communication planning. And after every unexpected or crisis situation that we experience, we look at our plan to make sure it's meeting the needs for how to handle the uniqueness of our situations. Both of the situations referenced, homecoming and the power outage, were very unique, especially in terms of timing. And these are no exception. We've looked at them, we've adjusted our plans, and we'll continue to do so when we have these experiences. We've spent time on these crisis communication plans to make sure we learn from each experience, and that certainly includes these two events. In terms of the power outage, one thing we'd like to remind the community is that students on the scene that have the ability to can text their parents and get on social media in a lot of cases faster than we can get a robocall or a mass email out, and they're actually on the scene. And so that's one way to make sure and expedite some communication, is to try and stay in touch with your student directly in the case of things like the power outage. Again, in any circumstance, that communication is going to be much faster and more rapid than anything we can put out as a district. It's important too for the community to remember that in a lot of these cases, we need time to investigate, and communicating too early sometimes can cause uncertainty, in some cases maybe panic. And often what's communicated first can be based on rumor or innuendo. And sometimes we're working with other entities in terms of our investigation. Of course, timely communication is important. We know that, but having the time to be able to assess situations and see where our communication fits in is really, really important. In terms of the open house, I want to make sure and talk about that a little bit too, because it's an important question, but that was in our new construction areas. And in a lot of cases for our new construction, as we looked at the 2020 bond photos earlier, we were not ready for an open house style event at that point. And that has to do with the timing with construction. It doesn't mean these new areas impacted the daily learning environment, but it does mean that they would impact a school-wide open event, such as an open house. And so the decision was made at those construction areas to make sure that we protect the safety and health of everybody who would be there by creating some virtual experiences for open house. So it's important to point that out in terms of the question about open houses for sure. We know that communication with our community continues to be a priority, but nothing is a higher priority than the health and safety of our students when we have unexpected or crisis situations in our school community. Question 6. There have been several parents expressing concerns regarding safety of morning drop-offs, especially in the Salem parking lots. Several have indicated that there may have been many days where cars have almost had accidents or students are not safe given the traffic congestion. Is this something that can be looked into?
So I can address that a little bit. Salem is a little bit different than some of our other schools in that it has three entrances off Joy Road. One entrance is primarily used for staff parking, and then our bus entrance. The next entrance in the middle is really our main entrance to the school for visitors. And then there's actually two entrances off of Joy Road to our student parking lot. And so with the bus routes, some of the bus routes being eliminated or canceled this year, we have an increase of parents driving students to school, dropping them off, pickup, and that obviously increases our traffic along Joy Road and becomes problematic. And so what we're working to do right now is we've ordered additional signage, additional traffic cones, and additional traffic management tools so that we can try to divert some of the parent-student drop-off pickup to one location versus what's happening right now is parents are seeing wherever they can get into a parking lot and are trying to get in and out as quickly as they can. Oftentimes what happens is that ends up interfering with our buses. Then we can't get buses into the bus loop to pick up students. We can't get buses out. Then parents end up getting blocked in. So we are working on a plan. As soon as those traffic control devices come in, we should be able to start to have additional signage letting parents know where the best location is for student pickup drop off if they choose to use Salem.
Thank you. The next question. What is the district's position on teaching CRT? Are the concepts of CRT taught within the spectrum of SEL? And just to give a couple acronym points, CRT in this case is referring to critical race theory. SEL is referring to social emotional learning.
Yep, and I'll take that one, Nick. Thanks. Critical race theory, as Nick said, CRT, is not part of the P-CCS curriculum, and there is absolutely no plan to include CRT in our curriculum. I think it helps to understand what critical race theory is, though. Critical race theory is a body of legal scholarship and an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists who seek to critically examine the intersection of race and law in the United States. This happens primarily through the legal lens and post-secondary, other words, college and university level work. CRT examines social, cultural, and legal issues primarily as they relate to race and racism in the US. CRT is not a part of the Michigan Academic Standards, which is the formation for the foundation of the P-CCS curriculum, nor is it any part of the P-CCS curriculum. Additionally, CRT is not taught within the spectrum of SEL, social emotional learning at P-CCS. SEL is the acronym for social emotional learning. SEL helps individuals learn how to recognize and manage emotions, care about others, make positive choices, behave responsibly, create and develop positive relationships, and avoid negative behaviors and negative outcomes. This pandemic, as Superintendent Merritt noted earlier, has had a significant negative impact on student social, emotional, and mental health, which has led to our increased support for our young people in this area.
Thank you, Ms. Rail. Next, when will we have school buses on all the routes?
Great question. As I stated previously, the driver shortage is a national, state, and local issue, which is partially due to COVID-19. There just isn't the pool of candidates that there once was. Prior to the pandemic, the average age of a school bus driver in the state of Michigan was 65 years of age. And many of those individuals are no longer willing or able to do that work, to drive a bus. Therefore, other individuals are being recruited to fill those vacancies. And in fact, anybody is eligible for the referral bonus to recruit those drivers, to credential somebody for a CDL, which is the license necessary to drive a bus, takes many, many weeks of training and temporary permitting and driving tests given by the state of Michigan. So for some portions of the hiring process, we're at the mercy of the state in that aspect.
And thank you, Ms. Piaz. Next question. What steps has PCCS taken to further the education of the community about COVID-19 and the preventative strategies that are backed in research and data to slow the spread? Not the mitigation strategies, but actual educational efforts.
So when I hear this question, one thing I do want to say, we continue to message that we are the educational experts, not the public health care experts. So we really do depend heavily upon the public health officials to provide that education in our community, in our state, nationally around COVID-19. We work to make sure that we bridge that gap with our local community to make sure those resources are available from the CDC, the MDHHS, the Wayne County Health Department. We utilize our COVID toolbox on our website to share this information with our families. We update that periodically as we receive this information here locally. Our nursing staff really did work, especially last year, to create videos. They've been working with our communication department to create some graphic illustrations to help parents better understand some of this information. But again, as our staff is working through contact tracing and educating our students on the expectations of the P-CCS curriculum, we're not utilizing those classrooms to provide that level of information, but again, partnering with our public health officials to make sure that we can disseminate that information among our community. And it truly, again, is a community effort. So that education as well needs to make sure that families are talking with one another and community is working together to continue to educate around preventative strategies that are backed by this research.
Thank you, Superintendent Merritt. The next question submitted is as follows. Thank you for your attempts to protect our children and staff from physical harm of COVID-19. Is there an option to be placed in classrooms with other families or staff who choose to follow public health recommendations? Those who have decided to remain both unvaccinated and unmasked create a high-risk environment. At least self-selection could contain the virus to a smaller group of individuals.
So I think I'll answer this two ways. I think from a public health perspective, that probably wouldn't be the safest choice in terms of how we would put students together. We want to make sure that we always have layered mitigation strategies in place to best protect students and make sure that we can ensure our ability to keep them in person. But from an educator's perspective, I will share that really here in PCCS, we've worked so hard to cultivate a climate of inclusiveness, and we really would never single out students in a classroom in terms of that classroom selection based on their vaccination status. As it relates to masks in general, again, we're following the Wayne County Health Department mandate, and that's currently in place. That requires all of our students and staff to remain masked while they're indoors, unless there is a medical exemption that is documented for that. So in terms of our class environments, overall, we have our mitigation plans that are in place, and we have an expectation that our schools are following those mitigation plans within our classrooms to just help ensure that all students are as safe as possible in this environment.
And we have two questions remaining as part of our Q&A. The next one is, different teachers apply different grading standards while teaching the same subject. This creates inequities amongst students studying the same subject under different teachers. The system that allows teachers to formulate their personal grading standards is inherently discriminatory, especially since the teachers are not chosen by the students, but are assigned to them randomly by a person or computer. What can be done emergently to address this unfair situation?
I'll take this one. So we continuously work to improve our curriculum instruction and assessment here at PCCS. And through that work, our instructional staff members discuss grading practices. They do this while we're doing curriculum revision and development during the cycle, what we call the curriculum cycle. And they're continuously collaborating on ways to improve consistency in and communication around grading. Additionally, our teachers collaborate around instructional practices that include grading and all things called formative and summative assessment during their professional learning community meetings, during staff meetings, and other professional development experiences. In regard to specific teachers and inconsistent grading practices, please reach out to your building principal or assistant principal and share this information and concern with them for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rail. And the final submitted question was, I just wanted to say thank you for the mask mandate and all of the school teachers and staff and everyone else involved for mandating masks and keeping our children safe.
Well, I say thank you in return to that comment. We are again following the Wayne County Health Department mandate that's been put in place. I know there's been so many varying points of views on masking in our local communities, but I will say it seems we are all focused on that goal that I talked about, keeping students in person learning. For those that learn best that way, we want to achieve that goal. And I would say our students, our staff, our families have really been following the mandate that we have in place. And this helps us with keeping that goal of remaining in person. And when we do have positive cases, again, we almost have daily positive cases among our schools. It really allows for our students that are identified as close contacts to remain in person as opposed to having to go home and quarantine for 10 days. So we just want to thank everyone for that effort to help us continue to achieve our goal. That mask mandate itself from the health department remains in effect, according to the health department, until we have reached a level of community spread of moderate for 14 consecutive days. So of course, we continue daily tracking our COVID transmission. We are still in a high level of transmission. If we look what's happening across the country, we see that across the country, numbers are beginning to come down. We're still one of 10 states that are pretty high in Michigan. But we're hoping that trend heads our direction and we can see some relief from this high level of surge. But again, as long as we have that mandate in place, we will still have the expectation that we'll follow that with the goal of keeping our students in person for 5 full days a week. Because as I said at the top of this hour, our students are really happy to be back. They're benefiting from that ability to be together with their peers, with their staff. They are thriving in this in-person environment.
Thank you, Superintendent Merritt. And that concludes the Q&A portion of our town hall, and that concludes today's event. This will not be the last community virtual town hall of the year. We'll make sure and let the community know when our next one is going to be. This will remain archived on the official P-CCS YouTube channel, along with all of our other town hall events that we've hosted. We want to thank you for taking the time to submit questions. And above all, we want to thank all of you for your continued support of Plymouth Canton Community Schools, where all students learn, prepare, and thrive. Have a great evening.